we are heading to a secret spot where a lot of DJI drones get tested. A professional with over 20 years of experience is going to teach me how to fly a drone cinematically. Let's go. Before you even turn on your drone, I want you to ask yourself one crucial question that changed everything for me. Why do I need a drone shot here? Too many beginners fly just because they have a drone. But here's what I learned from the expert. Drone shot should have a purpose in your travel story.
If you're traveling between destinations and there's something beautiful that you want to film, that's your car shot, right? That's your establishing shot. The story you're trying to tell is about surfing.
Yeah.
Then you're going to be doing drone shots that establish the beach that you're going to, maybe before you get in the water. And then once you're in the water, obviously a drone's a great tool to track, your surfer or surfing technique.
So when should you use a drone? Here are the key moments. To establish a new location, where am I? To reveal something, what's beyond that mountain? To follow action, tracking someone moving. To create transitions between scenes, like where are you going next?
The story really is what influences the type of shot that you're going to do.
A quick pro tip for that cinematic movie look, it's all about the motion blur. So you should set your shutter speed to double your frame rate. Here we are shooting at 60 frames per second, slow-mo, therefore we use 1/120. But if you're shooting at 30 frames per second, you use 1/60 shutter. If you're shooting at 24 frames per second, use 1/48 or 1/50. That's usually what you see on camera. So this creates that smooth, professional motion blur you see in Hollywood films. Here's the problem. In bright sunlight, even at the lowest ISO, you can't really use this slow shutter speeds without overexposing your footage. And that's where ND filters come in. Think of them as sunglasses for a drone. ND filters reduce the light hitting your sensor. It allows you to use proper cinematic shutter speeds and keep your footage from being overexposed and achieve natural motion blur even in bright daylight. So what should we do with the ISO? Donovan's gonna show you how.
Okay, so we're going to switch from auto to manual. And then under ISO, I just typically leave it on auto ISO. If you leave it on auto, it will make adjustments for you as the lighting conditions change. But you can also look at whatever the auto value is. In this case, it's 460. And then you can select the closest ISO to that value if you want to lock it in. So that would be 400 in this case. We're shooting 60 frames per second, so we're going to have the shutter on 120. And I'm also using a ND32 with these settings, and that's just what I found to be the best.
Let's start with the most important drone shot. The big review. Where am I? It's like the opening scene of a movie that tells viewers exactly where they are.
We know where we are when we're shooting the content, but the audience doesn't know.
Yeah.
Right? So it's always great to just do like a big, wide establishing shot where you can see the whole space. So even if it's the whole beach or whatever it is, that's great.
For every new location in your travel vlog, shoot all 3 of this established variation. They take less than 5 minutes usually to capture, and you will thank yourself when editing. The pullback review. So start close to something interesting. In this case, we use ourselves as the example. The drone is pulling back and reviewing the whole scene. It feels like you're inviting the viewers to come along with you. This one requires some practice. You find a tree or rock, in this case a tree, you fly through or on top of it to review the whole scenery. Let me show you one more time. See, there's a tree here, and now the full view. The orbit review. So you circle around your subject to show the location from multiple angles.
Basically, you're trying to keep your subject centered, but you're orbiting around them. Right? The reason it's difficult to learn is because you have to match the timing. So if the subject's here and I want to move to the right around them, I'm pushing right on my stick and maybe a little bit up as well to kind of like hold that angle.
Yeah.
And then I'm also having to pan at the same time.
Yeah.
But that timing has to match my horizontal movement, otherwise I will pan too much and the subject's not in the middle anymore, right?
Yeah.
When you get that timing down perfectly, then that shot looks like the subject is in the middle and the world is just rotating around them, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a really awesome shot.
The drone pilot is trying to orbit around these 2 surfers who's trying to paddle out. It's quite hard to orbit around movement because these 2 surfers, you don't know how fast they're gonna paddle. The easier way to achieve this orbit movement is actually by mixing movement, which is something we're going to talk about later. called compound movement. For this case, instead of just circling them around, you can also circle and pull back to make the shot wider. Therefore, you don't really need to match the speed of the surfer, but you match your own speed of the movement.
If you watch like professional TV shows and movies and stuff, the shots that are the most interesting are the ones that are moving on multiple axes at the same time.
This is my favorite compound movement. Go down when tilting up. Here's another example. Look at how sick this looks.
I'm using my middle finger to control the tilt while I'm using, you could just use your thumb and index finger if you're more comfortable there, but that's something that I would recommend practicing.
Don't worry if you don't get it perfect the first time. I definitely didn't. Let's talk about tracking shots. Those amazing drone sequences where you follow a moving subject. Here's a problem most beginners face. We try to fly too close and low, which usually ends with a crash and a broken drone. Here's the #1 rule for successful tracking shots when you're new. Fly at a higher altitude, like if there are tons of trees, fly above the trees.
It's very different when you're a single drone operator. And I mean that both ways. Like if you're one person doing a drone, or if the drone you're flying is designed to be flown by one person. Because professional drones, like Inspire, for example, you typically have two people operating that drone. You have a pilot and then you have a camera operator. The pilot can just kind of be flying next to the car, but watching where he's going, right? So he doesn't run into a light pole or a tree or anything. And then the camera operator is the one that's actually framing up the car. So it makes it really easy when you have a two-man drone. The trouble with trying to do that as a one-person operator is the drone you have to be looking where you're going, right? So it's really difficult to do lower level profile tracking shots. I would say be up above anything that you can hit in the area.
Okay,
right? And then you don't have to worry as much about where you are. You can just kind of try to keep pace with the car. Also, the further away you are, the less you have to be exactly in time with the car. And there's a lot more leeway when you're doing like a much wider shot. You can do a variation where the car comes into the shot, and then instead of trying to track the car, you're going up and just kind of letting the car go off into the distance, right? Or you're doing a shot where you're booming down and then the car comes into the bottom of your frame. And then you just settle and let the car go. Like there's a lot of variations that you can do even with car shots that don't require you to do that like action movie tracking shot, right? I wouldn't advise people to try to shoot a lot of profile shots. So like this is an example of what a profile shot looks like. Okay, so we're profile to the car or profile to a person. The problem with this is when you're a single drone operator, you can't see what's over here. And you can't see what's over here, and you can't see what's behind you. So if I'm trying to track this car and I'm moving like this, I'm going to crash into whatever's over here because I can't really see. There's a variation of this shot called a 3/4, which is like this.
Okay.
So you're kind of moving and profile at the same time as the car's moving forward, and this allows you to kind of see where you're going, but be in a 3/4 profile. So that's a good version of that, and it gives you another option other than just following the car from behind.
One last tip for tracking. You don't have to maintain your speed with the car or like the human, because it's quite hard to do, but you can control your drone movement. Try your best to make sure the movement is consistent. This simple approach will get you amazing footage without risking your drone. And once you master this, then you can try those lower, closer shots. You probably have seen this video before. This video basically inspired me to learn how to fly a drone. Flying through tight spaces is just so exciting. And that is the beauty of FPV drone. It allows to let you fly through tiny little gaps.
And then
Here's how to approach it safely. You scout the gap before you attempt. Start with wider gaps and gradually try narrow ones. Maintain a consistent speed through the gap. Have confidence that even if you brush against something, the prop guard will protect your drone. It's always good to actually just walk around it and kind of have a feel on how big the gap is. Donovan is currently showing us how to fly through a gap. I would suggest you to do a scout with the drone before you shoot a location. Kind of just to see if there's anything hidden that you're going to run into. And definitely recommend you to walk around and look for hazards like power lines, These are nearly invisible from your controller screen. Areas with poor GPS signal, places where people might walk into your flight path. Where we are shooting right now, there are lots of mountains, so we lost signal for a couple of times. But there's no signal.
Yeah, there's too much mountain between us and him.
So
It's okay. I'll just go up and then find him again.
what Jonathan have taught me today is always just go up. Once you're above the mountains, the signal come back. So altitude is your best friend when this happens. Keep going up until signal returned, and slowly bring the drone back to you.
The easiest way to do this is to be in a follow car behind them because you never lose signal.
No, but you have to fly the drone when you're in the car?
Yeah.
No.
But it's actually really easy. You get to sit and you don't have to worry about losing signal. It's my favorite way to do following shots.
But you cannot see the drone anymore. The last and most important tip is music. This is a drone footage without music, and this is a drone footage with cinematic sound. There are so many music platforms out there that you can choose music from. If you don't have time to try all of them, I highly recommend you to use MusicBed. This is the platform I found that they have the most cinematic soundtracks. I linked the free trial down below. Well, I'm heading off on my world travel next month, so make sure you're following along with all this drone technique put into action. I'll be showing you exactly how I use this shot to create my travel story. Thanks for watching, and now get out there. Shout out to Donovan who spent his day off teaching me how to fly drone. I really hope I passed along the information correctly. Getting to learn from someone I've looked up to for so long was an incredible opportunity.
Cool. How did you?
If you practice just an hour a day,
Yeah.
you won't get exponentially better in 2 weeks. Like
Okay.
you'll become, like you won't believe how different you will be just in 2 weeks if you just practice 1 hour every day. Like
Okay.
it's a huge difference. So.
Living off bread and homemade wine is gonna be fine by me. We've been staying inside for quite some time, living on the edges of a world gone by. We lost Bill Withers and we lost